So I know we don't do this often, but we decided to do a little Q&A here on Secular Talk. We released a comment on the Facebook page, which said that we're going to do a couple segments on this, and if anybody had questions, go ahead and ask away. And we got a lot of questions, and we got awesome questions. Now, needless to say, I don't have time to respond to every single one because there's just too many. But we have a decent amount here, and I broke it up into a couple of different segments with a bunch of questions that are smaller questions and some bigger ones that I kind of want to pontificate on a little bit. So let's go ahead and start here. First of all, somebody asked, I know you've talked about national defense and non-interventionism. Given the state of terrorism and guerrilla tactics that terrorists use, how would you personally combat terrorist bombings or acts at home? More security in public places or early detection? What would be your solution? So, this is a very good question because I do probably harp away too much on just the issue of non-intervention and what I wouldn't do overseas to the point where people don't understand what I actually would do or what proactive things I'm in favor of. So, here's how I'd respond to that. Non-interventionism is not isolationism. Oftentimes people confuse the two, and they'll use the term isolationism as a pejorative. A lot of right-wingers say, oh, what are you, an isolationist? And it's something that it's just mocking it. It's supposed to be inherent in the word that people go, oh, that's a little silly to just be totally alone, totally isolated. That's a negative thing. Non-interventionism is not that. Non-interventionism is the idea that we don't fuck with anybody else, and we won't start wars with anybody else, and we won't do military interventions anywhere unless or until there is a threat of violence or war against the nation. So, in other words, it's violence only in the case of self-defense. So, that doesn't mean that I'm totally anti-war. I'm not a pacifist. I'm not an isolationist. I believe in war when war is necessary to defend the nation. So a good example of this, of when I would have been screaming like the biggest war hawk on planet Earth, is if I was around right before World War II. I said, what the fuck are we waiting for? We saw exactly what Hitler was doing. He was conquering Europe. In fact, he largely succeeded. He took over so much of it. It's ridiculous when you go back and look at the map. He was on the verge of taking the UK, right? And it's obvious where he wanted to go next, and he declared war on the United States of America. That's the clearest example ever for a time when, if you're a non-interventionist, it still made sense to intervene. So it's not like I'm anti-all war and I'm a pacifist. I'm not. I'm not, like a Jesus character, and I'm not like, some of the uber leftists like anarchists or communists or something like that. No, I believe in war, but only wars that are absolutely necessary. And also, by the way, just a little something to add on top of this. Are there any exceptions to that principle that I just laid out? Not really, but there's like a semi-exception, which is this. If there's a situation around the world where there's a clear genocide going on, where one side is basically totally right and the other side is totally wrong, and there's just a group of barbarous savages murdering innocent people, in those cases, what would I do? I would basically use the international community to the best of our ability. So what that means is you get all the legal approvals that you need. So you go through Congress here at home, and then you go through the UN, and you go through NATO. You get all the different layers of approval that you need. And then what you do is you have a clearly defined mission that you do, but only with international help. So it's the U.S. helping with other nations. So it's not one nation above nations. It's one nation among nations, and we all work together to try to stop something like that. But that's it. Outside of that one slight example, right, then it's only war for self-defense, and that's it.